Good morning. My name is Kirsty Dignam and I'm here to look at the energies for the week with today's Monday's Musings. And I can't help but giggle and chuckle to myself because I get this overwhelming feeling that I just don't feel ready. And all I keep hearing in my own mind is just sod it. Just do it. Just take that leap. And there's so many reasons why I don't feel ready. There's so much that I can feel going on under the surface, almost like a real push and pull between what was and what wants to come through. And, you know, the balance underneath it all being the recognition that they are one and the same. So I'm looking at the wall in front of me and there's a dream catcher that I've just created, something I'll be doing more of in the future. And I've decided to keep this one for myself. And it's in the shape of an arrow, and when I look at it, what I really see is the emphasis of our dreams being that arrow, but all aspects of that. So the bits where we don't feel ready, the bits that we're not too keen on, the bits that we need to actually wake up and see and realise are part of the whole physics of achieving what it is we're aiming for. So let's look at those physics. Well, individually for me today, and I feel collectively as well, there's a lot going on that we may need to actually open our eyes to. So an example of this, my camera, the way that I've got it sat right now, it's so close, which is quite daunting. It's like, are you ready for your close-up? And this week we're really going to feel that. We're really going to feel that no matter how much we try and put the emphasis out there, it's going to be about really acknowledging our own what is it? It's not even image. It's not even, it is our own role in this. It is how we see ourselves. How we see ourselves. So I'm very uncomfortable with being close to the camera, and yet every week, you know, I turn up and do these weekly videos, and it's really about seeing what we are doing, even if we don't like it or may not feel comfortable with it, what we have actually achieved and what we are actually doing. The other thing I've just done, despite having extra security from my bank over my funds, I've just booked a restorative yoga session at the end of this week. Never done it before. Yoga really doesn't agree with my fibromyalgia. It seems to really flare it up. But despite all of these external or my own repetitive feelings that it may not be good for me, there's something inside of me that's yearning me forward to try it differently, to recognize that I'm doing it from a different space now, from a different angle now. And sometimes it's not until we try those new things that we may have given up on before we recognize really and truly where we actually are. Which is what I'm feeling. I'm feeling a necessary conflict, or what we would perceive as conflict, but it's almost like a necessary contraction, an ebb and flow. We're in Cancerian season, right? An ebb and flow as we lead into the Sirius gateway in order to truly see the star that is leading us, in order to truly see the vision that is moving us forward. We need to be aware of the dark and the light behind it, and to find that inner balance between it. So this morning I woke up thinking I haven't done any, yesterday I had this huge long plan, Capricorn full moon, right, coming up next week, this huge long plan of I'm going to get this in action and that in action, I'm going to do this, this and this. And this morning I was just like, I'm going to lay with my husband instead because it's comfortable. And I started to think, wow, you haven't done this, you haven't done that. And I needed to feel that. I needed to feel almost the regret, almost the tension, almost the pressure that's going to build up from now until the full moon, which is known as the thunder moon, in order to make us stretch and grow. It's called the buck moon as well. So that connection to our higher self here, so that we can recognize what we're trying to achieve can and really must be done in a way that we enjoy doing. So this morning I'm laying with my husband, but I'm also relaxing my body and receiving any healing that I need. Today when I walked my dog, I didn't do my exercises or my yoga in the morning. Today when I walked my dog, instead I'm doing squats as I'm walking uphill and, twisting and lifting my arms and all that kind of thing. So really this week feels like a beautiful opportunity to take what we feel we should be doing and really merge it with what we want to do, because we can achieve the same thing. It's that arrow notion. We can achieve it by feeling into the disappointments we may have in ourselves in regards to worth and putting our own needs first, and then really utilising that in a way that's fun. There is no point trying to do something we don't want to do. It is about taking what we feel we must achieve in the next 6 months and finding a more fun, uplifting, more aligned way of doing it. So this morning, despite standing on the dreaded scales, oh my God, and realising that I have put on quite a significant amount of weight, I cancelled my gym membership. Now that sounds like a little bit, what, really? But actually the gym membership for me is a constant reminder of how I don't go to the gym. It's just personally not for me. I would much rather, do my stretches outside while I'm walking, perhaps try and learn to run, or learn to run, right? We're kind of, the moment we walk, we can run, which feels like key. Recognizing this week, even the smallest steps as we lead into the full moon, even the smallest steps are just as valuable. So that deep breath that you take, because you're enjoying it, you're more present in it, which is probably going to be more beneficial than doing a meditation class that you don't want to do. Okay, so this week, really recognizing that the value of presence is what makes the difference, and that we only really get that if we can embody what's occurring, and that we're a lot more likely to do that if we enjoy it, right? We're a lot more likely to do that if we recognize what it is we're already doing. Okay, so, the camera with the close-up, I'm already doing it. I'm already looking at all of my stuff continually and already recording every week. So when I recognised that this morning, the discomfort kind of stopped. Another couple of aspects of what needed to be looked at this morning. My chair is very squeaky. It's very wobbly. So every time I move, you can hear that I'm changing my position, and that feels quite relevant. So my first initial view of the wobbly chair was an unstable foundation. And yes, perhaps this week to an extent, but also recognizing, really listening to the fact that you're changing your position this week. If something doesn't feel solid, how can you change your position? What needs to be heard? Or more importantly, this week, it feels like what needs to be seen. Although it is all the senses this week, we are going to really, as we lead into this full moon, recognize the benefit, the power, the magic of our emotions, and grounding into them and utilizing them as steps upon any obstacle that we face this week, rather than trying to hold them back. And it is that listening to the change of position that may be needed around that, how stable we actually feel that we are, and not in a we need to be more stable, but really feeling into that, recognizing that, and acknowledging the things that no longer work for us. The other thing I felt this morning when I was walking, I felt really full, really heavily pregnant. Actually, that's how I felt, and the guidance was to see every stage as a step of labour or conception or delivery. And if I'm to do that, then we collectively are so close to delivering now that it can be, that stage where you just think, I'm done, I'm so full, I'm so tired, I'm so, I've tried this, I've tried that, blah, blah, blah. This week and leading into the full moon, there's really going to be that reap of the rewards, but we're right at that pivotal moment of keep going, but change how you do things. One of the best ways to initiate any labour, one of the best ways to initiate any healing or anything like that, is to feel safe, to feel loved, to feel heard and seen. So really finding time to either do that for yourself this week, or finding someone that will do that for you or help you to do that for yourself is really going to be key, because there is a lot of manifestations in the cosmic womb that haven't, for whatever reason right now, come to fruition. And it's almost like trying to bring it in new ideas, but they're being, we would call it products of conception. There being like an afterbirth there, or something there that's from the old that's kind of getting in the way. So this week it feels really important to clear out what isn't for us yet. Now that doesn't mean that it's not coming. It may not for some people, but right now it isn't for us. So I can really relate that a lot of the things I'm trying to achieve in regards to business and things like that demand that I be stronger physically, demand that I be less squeaky on my foundations, really actually demand a next level from me, because they are the next level also, and that alignment. So it's not that I'm not going for those things, I'm actually going for them indirectly. And that really feels like key to recognise that even if it feels frustrating this week, you know, really pulling back that arrow, really having to backwards, forwards, really having to step back and have a good clear look of what it is we're aiming for. Even though that can feel frustrating, it doesn't mean that we're not headed towards it by doing that. By doing that, we step back and we get a real clear vision. Okay, so what was the other thing? My arms. I recognise that this is the first time, because of the weather, that I've actually done this video without a scarf on, because it hasn't been cold, or a jumper. And obviously I'm sat here and I can see my arms and it's like, oh my goodness. So I know that there's some real toning to be done there. That I knew. What I didn't recognise was how uncomfortable it actually made me feel. I nearly went up and put a jumper on. I nearly went up and put a cardigan on or a shirt, you know, just for this video. And this week it feels like key that we are really being asked to be more authentic, to be more observant, to be more real with where we are. Because until we do that, it's the age old, but until we do that, age old, something in regards to how mature we are becoming on a physical level. But until we really do that, you know, we can't change things until we actually recognise where we are. I know I need to tone up my arms. I've known this for a while, you know, just from picking up things. I've known this. You know, I know that they are my solid foundation. They are what I hold and how I embrace life. They need to be stronger. I've known that. Seeing it this week, seeing what we already know, is almost like that release point of the arrow. Okay, so really not letting go too quickly, not holding on too tightly, but being aware, I've seen that, let go, I need to do something about it. Okay. Is there anything else? So there is stuff around that in regards to what it is we're trying to conceive, what it is we're trying to deliver. There is a fear around that, around loss, around things not coming in, not trusting ourselves. It is all building up to the 7/7 portal, and I know every year we mainly talk about the 11/11. We mainly talk about especially the Lion's Gate, and being a Leo, hey, why not? We talk a lot about the Lion's Gate portal and things like that, but I have recognised over the last 3 or 4 years or so, the 7/7 portal has really gone unnoticed. That is not going to be an option this year. The 7/7 portal is going to be noticed. It's almost like the Syrian energy is coming through to be seen, to be noticed. And when we think about the Syrian energy, you know, you're thinking about Egyptian times, you're thinking about Isis, you're thinking about Atlantis, that kind of energy. There is a correlation to that and the sinking of the submarine. Not that long ago this week, there's a lot rising to the surface, to be seen, to be held, and to be embraced and reflected upon emotionally this week. It is all to do with the dreams that we are aiming for. I had to really look at myself then. Interesting. It is all to do with the dreams that we are aiming for. It is all to do with how prepared we feel we are. And on that note, it feels quite important that we look at the energies and how to best navigate it. The other thing that came through this morning was that about recognising where we are in regards to it all, and how clear and how calm we are, how willing we are to flow with our connection. One thing I will share, I shared the Moon Nike rites this weekend, and it was the last rites that we shared. So it was the Star Keeper and the Great Spirit rites. And I realised that these were rites that were passed on from Spirit rather than from people until 2006. And I realised that I actually had received them. In that moment, I realised I'd actually received them quite a few years ago in Cyprus. Now, the reason I share this is this week we are going to be very aware of downloads that have occurred for this moment, this very moment in time. And as we lead into the 7/7, that's going to be more and more applicable. That's going to be more and more evident. And there feels like there's something in that, actually. I'm looking at a hawk feather in front of me, the higher perspective, but it also feels like we need evidence now in order to keep moving with what we're doing. We need evidence now in order to keep taking the steps that we are taking, and realising that those steps themselves will be the evidence that we are looking for. Okay, so it's kind of like an infinite flow that is occurring right now between us and Source as creators. The Empress. Of course. And this is where we are. This is where we are. And, you know, it is uncomfortable. It's like fully pregnant, like just, oh my God, I just want this done now. But recognizing that the Empress is continually conceiving. So, you know, you may not get the full release that you want this week, but recognizing that the release that occurs is what's actually going to help you conceive the next bit and the next bit and the next bit. Really appreciating the small steps for the impact they have on the larger steps, rather than focusing so much on the larger vision. Really recognizing what is in front of us and how we're going to use that to achieve the larger vision. Like myself today, walking my dog, doing my squats, that was far more applicable for me, far more evident for me than going to the gym that I wasn't going to. Okay, so really getting honest with ourselves this week and getting rid of the things that we know we're not going to do. You know, it's not that I'm not going to exercise or get fit, but I'm not going to go to the gym to get it. You know, it could be that you're looking for somebody and, you know, you're going to a certain meeting place like a pub or a club or I don't know where people meet each other now, but thinking I don't actually want to meet my soulmate here. Okay, so really fine-tuning, really honing, really taking aim, not on what you want to achieve, but how you're going to do it, how you want to do it. And this is where our emotional intelligence really comes into key this week. You'll feel it. And trusting that, really trusting what you feel. I thoroughly enjoyed my workout walk this morning. I cannot say I enjoy the same at the gym. And just being brutally honest with ourselves. And being very clear and direct this week. That's the energy. Very clear and direct with ourselves, first and foremost. So how do we best navigate that? My eyes keep being drawn to a hare looking up at the moon in a sculpture picture in front of me, and I love it because it's not just a painting, it's a 3D painting, it's real. And you know, the hare is looking up at the moon, so really looking at our emotions, really looking at our cycles and allowing them to make something 3D now, allowing recognition of when we feel like it's time to act and when we feel like it's time to go within, that ebb and flow, our own cycle, and working with it, not against it. Yeah, okay, so Page of Swords. No matter what our mind says, you know, it's really taking our emotional intelligence and allowing that to mature our mindset this week. Okay, so now I'm looking at all different things around me, and I'm acutely aware that we can just keep looking and looking and looking for insights and for answers, and that could be something that we end up doing this week, and it's coming from an emotional space. There's no judgment there, but obviously as we move into the full moon in Capricorn, it is very much about what have you done with the messages that you receive. Seven of Swords. What have you done with the messages, or are you continually seeking out more insight because you don't believe the original messages that you receive, and looking into why you may not believe that, and trusting that. Okay, so energies this week. I want that one. I want that one. I want that one to one side. Deciding what you want, having fun with it, being okay with that. Oh, what actions you're going to do about it, and who can help. Okay, so we have the World at the bottom of the pack. Now, this isn't what I was planning on doing for the reading. I was going to look at the energies this week, but actually there's a real importance here to know roughly what it is you want to achieve, but also being very open to what is being asked of us as well. So when we look at the Cancerian Capricorn axis, we do have personal wishes, but we do have the external responsibilities as well. Recognizing that what we're trying to achieve and the pressures that are put on us on the outside are one and the same. It's like that contraction of labor. It's like the build up before the thunderstorm. Okay, so really holding space for both. Being aware of what it is you want to create, what it is you're planning, but also being very open. Having that fine line of expectations and freedom this week, so that you can truly see your potential, so that you can truly see who you are. Okay, and it is going to be raw, it is going to be naked, it is going to be a bit vulnerable, and underneath we have the Four of Pentacles. A lot of trying to hold on. Well, that's my treasure, that's who I am, you know, that's what I'm about. Is it? And if it is, great. If it isn't, then it really is time to let it go, because I'm going to leave it underneath the pack, I'm not going to keep looking into what that is. It's almost like this week we can get really lost in the energy of search, search, search. What does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? Are we avoiding what we already know? Yeah, like I can get a jumper, I can get a scarf, I can cover it up, I can look at the fact that I'm trying to hide my arms and blah, blah, blah. I can see it from X, Y, and Z, or I can just go, I need to get those weights and start lifting them. Okay, so are we avoiding what we already know by looking for different avenues? And, you know, are we the very reason for our own frustration this week? Or, okay, so I've forgotten the order of what I want and the actions, and that feels beautiful. I've put 2 cards to one side. Remember, I want that one and the actions needed, and they are one and the same. They really are one and the same. What you want is what you're doing, and what you're doing is what you want. And if that isn't the case, change it up. Yeah, that perspective thing, right? Listen. If you hear squeaking from your body, or, you know, complaints from your physicalness, from your emotions, or slight sounds of I don't really want to go that way, or I do want to go that way, really fine-tuning and listening this week. I've asked my husband to get me some noise reduction headphones for my birthday. It's something that I felt I needed for several years, and I tried them about a year ago, and the difference on my body was just phenomenal. I could be without the external noise, and that feels very poignant this week, to go within and fine-tune and hone into what the body is saying, what position you may need to change, so that you recognise that what you want has to be in alignment with what you're doing. You can't lie to the body. You can't kid a kidder. That's what I hear. So we have the High Priestess and the Seven of Cups. Now, I do believe the one I want was the High Priestess, and the actions was the Seven of Cups. And what I really see here is it's the confusion that is going to make us go within. It's the confusion this week, the many, many options, the many, many ways of doing things that is going to make us go within. We live in such an abundant world, in the fact that you can think, what can I have for dinner this week? Or, you know, you might want a takeaway, or go out for and there's so many restaurants. Or I want to lose weight, and there's so many options. Or I want some guidance, and there's so many alternatives out there. We are in such an abundant, packed world right now of options, and that can really cause some confusion, thankfully, because underneath them all it's about what we feel we need. Underneath them all it's about finding our own answers. So this week, when there are these many options, or when there are lots of distractions or illusions, it's a wonderful opportunity to go within and think, what do I want? Feel, what do I want? Sense, what do I want? Really connect to a far higher intuitive wisdom trying to come through. So what I see here is Isis, and I do see Sirius here, and I do see, you know, deep, deep, deep wisdom coming from the stars and from above us. But the need to go within, the need to really look at our emotions here. And to be grounded in that. You can see this individual's wearing red. Yes, the root chakra, the blood, to call upon our family members, or maybe look at any ancestral healing that may need shifting here, because we have the Seven of Cups. But also the blood cycle, yeah, the release, the ladies, you know, those with wombs, please, please, please connect to your cycles. And those without wombs anymore, or wombs that no longer have a flow, connect to the moon cycle. You know, the masculine, the men, there's no reason why you can't connect to the moon cycle. I'm really starting to come back to the calendar of the world around you, so that you feel when to act and you feel when to go within. It's one thing to know our own flow. Really, really important for the second half of the year, that we get the strength and the divine connection of uniting that with the external collective flow also. So, help to seek out, and what we may need to do about it. Well, we have the Lovers, the High Priest, and Rebirth, which is Judgment here. What do I see? What do I see? That feels really, really important. And I'm almost pulling a blank I'm almost pulling a blank, because there needs to be choices that are made from more than what we see. It needs to be what we feel on a spiritual level. And we are being called out to take that to the next level now. We are being called out to embrace our inner child. There's that hair. There's that hair on the card here. Only instead of looking at the moon, it's looking at that inner child. It's looking at that innocence there. And the decisions that need to be made in order to not heal the inner child, not tame or control the inner child or inner wild, but actually to embrace and walk alongside it, to unite with that energy on another level. Okay, so I love how this card, they're being watched by the deer, and the deer is the feminine. It's all the feminine. It's all about creativity here, but it is also about the moments that we enjoy in life and making choices to ensure that we have more of them, making choices to ensure that we decide on certain aspects from this place. Okay, with the high priest here, that sacred masculine, that emperor energy. Okay, rather than my way or the highway, being very compassionate with the power that we have, but also being very authentic with our intuitive responses as a result of that. Okay, so how are we? 25 minutes. How are we? Yes. If you could do anything this week, just keep checking in with yourself and with others. How am I? How are we? How is this situation going? How am I working towards what I'm trying to achieve in every moment? Because only then, not so you can bring in more stuff, but only then can you actually really see what it is you are doing and where you actually are. Okay. Right. So we're going to have a quick, brief look at the energy. Now I feel really drawn to get some different cards, and part of me I can't be bothered to move. We have the Five of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. Yeah, part of me just can't be bothered to move, like, oh, can I not just do what I need to do with what I've got in front of me? And yes, to an extent we can. However, if we ignore that intuitive calling, if we ignore that simple energy trying to come through, it's going to be a lot harder. So I'm going to pause this and get the cards that I know I need. So interesting. So I could have just got up without pausing the video and gone and got the cards because they were just behind me, but I almost didn't want to turn my back to the camera, to what was in front of me, for many reasons. And that feels like half the insecurity this week is feeling unsure of what we can turn our back on and who. Right at the top of the pack we have the Ten of Wands, right? So that's making us almost sense as if we have to hold on to these things just in case, saving for a rainy day, or, you know, holding on to emotions just to be sure, just to be comfortable, just to be protected. And the truth of the matter is that this version of the soul isn't protecting us anymore. This version of where we've been is where we've been. It's clouding where we could actually be going. Okay, so I wanted the Rider-Waite Radiant Tarot because I wanted to go back to basics. I wanted to keep it small and simple and radiant, and boom, energy this week. That is the potential there, even though it feels like I want to say an emotional shit show. Even though it feels muddy, it feels like there's too much water and too much mud and like a landslide. That's what I sense. That's what it feels like. But what happens when we're in a landslide? You know, that energy, it's really quick. I saw a video, Six of Wands. It's very victorious this week. I saw a video of someone getting in this incredible water slide yesterday on Instagram, I think it was, and they just put their hands across their chest and just let go, and it was like a bullet. It was like, yeah, it was like an arrow, and it was so quick. Just put your hands, arms around yourself and let go. This week, if you do anything, hold yourself and just let go. Okay, so energies this week: keep it simple, keep it clear, keep it radiant, let go. How to best navigate it? Balance. It's always balance. Okay, so what does that balance look like for us on the Monday, on the Tuesday? So on the Tuesday I wanted to take 2, and it's not going to be necessary because we can allow it to flow into the Wednesday. On the Thursday, on the Friday, on the Saturday, on the Sunday, overall. Now, it felt really important, and I'm looking at the Five of Pentacles of the other deck. It felt really important to only take that we need this week, to not take on the responsibilities of others, to not take on the duties of others, but to recognize which ones actually are ours and step up to the mark. So sometimes, best will in the world, we can be distracted or take on roles of other people because facing our own is just like a mountain we just can't get over this week. And as we move into the full moon the next week with Capricorn, you know, really recognizing that sure footing, really recognizing our ability to balance, or where we may not be balanced, or where we may need to bring in more. And some of that on the Monday really does come from only taking that we need, and only giving that is needed also, because we have the Five of Wands here. Now, we can recognize that lots of information and lots of energy coming in can help to build a bigger picture. If we're at that halfway turning point, if we're at that point of wanting change but not quite knowing what change, opinions, great. Ideas, great. Guidance, great. However, on the Monday, it's really an opportunity to look at where you are and get real. If you know what you need to do, getting different opinions is just going to muddy the water. It's just going to cause stress and pressure and like a build up, an induction, if you will, of what's already going to happen. If that works for you, that works for you. If that's how you create, that's how you create. You know, there's a real emphasis here on chaos magic, particularly on the Monday, and a lot of people will do that from a reactory place. And if that's you, and that's, you know, you're not hurting yourself, you're not hurting other people in the process, I'm not going to come in and say, no, that's not how you do it. It's a bit like people when they're pushing and you try and guide them to breathe and they can't, and they push, and there is trauma that is caused 9 times out of 10, but they did the best that they could do, and that's how they deliver. And who am I to say that's right or wrong? And that feels really poignant this week. Don't let anyone else tell you how you create. Underneath it all, seek opinions, seek guidance by all means. But if someone is taking over what it is you're trying to create, what it is you're trying to change, you know, that's the turning point that we're being asked to really look at. How in control, how responsible are we being for the changes that we want in our own life? On the Tuesday, I wanted to take 2 cards, and that's where we're really going to be in a place of feeling like we can take on more, we can give more, we can flow with more. It isn't necessary. You have all week. You have time, you know. On the Tuesday, we have the 9 of Cups, and it's almost like a smug, I'm in a really good place. I can do so much. I can take on so much. And actually, is that nurturing? Because the other card that I wanted to bring out on the Tuesday was the Queen of Cups, and it's really looking at how we nurture that flow now when things are great. You know, we can look at how determined we are when things are, when they need movement, when we need to shift things, but how much are we allowing ourselves to enjoy the stillness of what we have achieved? And on the Tuesday and Wednesday, that's really going to be key. Yes, we can have many opinions from other people, but we can also add things unnecessarily ourselves as well. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, having those moments where you feel content and allowing yourself to have those moments to nurture you, to put you in a really good place to deliver what is actually coming. So allowing yourself to open up to what you have achieved is going to be the very induction towards what it is you are trying to gain by the end of the week. On the Wednesday, we have the Fool card. We get to decide whether or not something is a new beginning or not, and that feels really quite poignant as we go into the Thursday. Thursday is going to give us hints into what this full moon is all about, because we have the Moon card. And here we do have that fine line between loyalty with the dog and our own inner wild, our own Salka with the wolf, recognizing they're one and the same. Loyalty can be quite fierce by the end of the week for what it is we want, what it is we believe in. Really looking at how true that is, really looking at where we are in our own cycle with that, really looking at the impact that has had on ourselves and others, and how that is affecting our emotions. Being really honest with the journey that we now want to take on the Wednesday, Thursday time. On the Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. On the Thursday, Friday, sorry. On the Saturday, Friday, Saturday, bit of a mix-up energy, and that's where the illusion is going to come. So on the Friday, something could come to light that may feel as if it's the way forward, but come the Saturday, it doesn't quite resonate with our soul. It may feel as if we're having to try too hard or give too much, or it may not feel as sovereign as we are at that point. So on the Friday and the Saturday, being very aware, almost of a test. Almost of a how much do you believe in your ability to achieve what it is you've set your mind to, because on the Saturday we do have the Queen of Wands, and it is really about nurturing our own connection with our own spiritual divinity. So we are still in the year of the Chariot, but the other part of my arms, there they are, the other part of my arms that I can really feel is the potential of strength. Of course, there's some toning to be done there, but there's great potential of strength as well. And as we do enter into the 7-7 portal, we are going into the second half of the 7 year, preparing ourselves for the 8 year, the strength year. So really looking at any of these illusions and indecisions with what path we're taking as a wonderful opportunity to strengthen our physical resolve, our physical application, to really connect to that higher divine guidance that is coming through, and to nurture that, to step up with our own matriarchy, to step up with our own feminine, to step up and really look at how we nurture our creativity and how we embrace the emotions and how strong they can actually make us feel, or not, as the case may be. What I really sense here is almost as if the emotions are still out there being triggered by others and not being honed, acknowledged, owned, and brought home to the whole completeness that they are. They are our reactions, and the sooner we can acknowledge that, well, then on the Sunday we have the Ace of Wands. We've gone from nurturing our connection to these spiritual movements within us to actually saying, this is my divine connection, this is my source, this is my way forward, and I'm going to allow myself, leading into the full moon the following week, and it is the following week. So normally when I do a reading I can say that it's applicable all week, but actually no, it does feel as if stages of labor, progression of labor, and by the time we get to the Sunday it is all going to clear, and we are going to take forward a much clearer representation of our own spiritual wisdom, and that's going to come through our emotions. It's going to come through how well we trust them, how well we flow with them, how well we let them guide us, how much we believe in them, and the lessons that they've taught us, because this is the balance, this is the overall balance between the student and the teacher. Okay, recognizing that our emotions aren't here to dictate to us, the wounded inner child, but they're also not here to be ignored and disconnected from as well. So really, really knowing that every time we seek advice from other people, 9 times out of 10 it's what we already knew. Acknowledging that, bringing that home, having peace and contentment with that. Sometimes everything can be really just is, and we're so unused to that as a society that we start to seek out more learning, more understanding, more lessons than perhaps is necessary. And as we lead up to the full moon, it's really about letting the unnecessary go, so that we can bring back all that energy and take aim for what it is we are headed towards anyway. Okay, so real conservation of energy this week. There's something in that about the energy. I saw something about that this morning, but it's completely gone. Knowing that it will come back to you when it's relevant. Okay, knowing whatever we're trying to achieve will come back to us when it's relevant. We then let go of that 5 of Pentacles from the other deck, that I'm not getting anywhere, nothing is changing, and actually we step into justice, which is right. It's that balance that is necessary before something can come in. Okay, so I almost see like the analogy of a tough love parent. It's not that we can't have what we want, but it's about recognizing, are we in alignment with it? Are we ready for it? Do we believe ourselves that we are worthy of it? Because once we can acknowledge those things and take a different stance, I'm not squeaking anymore, a different perspective, and turn our back on that no longer resonates, that's when we bring that higher level of balance that is trying to come through. It is trying to come through, and it will or could be born from a necessary conflict, a necessary pulling apart. What I see is cell division. When things reproduce, when they mitosis, when things reproduce, obviously they have to pull apart first, and then and that almost feels like that's what's going on this week. Okay, so major arcanas, we have 1, 2, 3. I was going to say I'm going to put them in order, and yet I didn't. I put them in a completely different order. We have the Hierophant, the Fool, and the Moon, and it does feel quite relevant actually to put them in different orders at any point. So whatever is going on for you, what am I learning? How is this changing my path? What needs to be seen beyond this now in regards to my emotional well-being? Okay? Letting your emotions guide you, letting your emotions not dictate where you're going, but definitely spur you forward. Because without the emotions, guys, without the emotions, it's like trying to do a steam train with no steam. Okay, so without that drive, without that purpose, that ambition, that spiritual energy behind you, is going to feel like it's really hard work this week. And really looking at where you get that spiritual energy from. If it's from other people, it isn't going to fuel you. You know, like a vampire, you're going to need more. You're going to need more energy from other people, more oomph, more confirmation, more encouragement. But at the end of the day, that comes from you. Ultimately, the best place for that to come from is you, because then you will believe in yourself. And this is a real week for that self-worth to come to light. Okay, we have, when I looked at the cards, it felt a bit confusing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's because we have the 5. We have that midway turning point when it comes to our own actions and what we do on a human level. And it did feel a bit confusing, and I can see other people happy, me not so much happy, me being the cards. There being a real conflict here about what we want, what we feel we want, and what we're actually driven to do. But the best way to do that this week is to really break down the elements, to really recognize what we're thinking, what we're feeling, what our actions are actually portraying, the drive behind it. Really fine tuning that this week. So what I want to do is actually move the 2 feminine archetypes to one side. It's almost like 2 teams here. 2 teams, the emotions and the spirit. Okay, so we have 2 queens. 2 queens here, and there's something about both sides of the coin. There's something about recognizing that our emotions are our spirit, and that our spirit affects our emotions. So we have 1 card wise, 3. The creation itself is going to come from the drive. There is no doubting that this week. You know, you can have all the emotions in the world, you can have all the information in the world. There are no sword cards, there are no pentacle cards. You can do all the actions in the world, but the actual delivery, we have 3, the actual delivery and coming together is going to come from the drive. Yes, we can be spurred, triggered, however you want to see it, from others, and that can cause a bit of unnecessary pressure and conflict this week. And that can help us decide what it is we actually want. But ultimately, how do we nurture the drive? If we haven't got the passion, if we're feeling a little bit, what are we going to do to reinitiate that spark? For me personally, it's going to be to keep it clear and simple and direct. Sometimes when I'm doing a healing or a reading, it can go on longer than I'm guided to that I'm guided to provide, and I can recognize that. Did I get the point across? Did I get the point across? And what happens for me is the drive, the spirit, the passion starts to wane, and that's when I know that it's time to just be direct. So for you it's going to be different, for everyone it's different, but what helps you create? What energy helps sustain your ability to create this week? The balance, and the balance comes down to emotions. We have 2 cup cards here, and we have the 9 of cups and the Queen of cups. Be happy. What brings you joy? What helps you cross your arms and let go? Yeah. What helps you feel safe enough to do that? What helps you want to see what's beyond it all, what's beyond the curtain? And do you actually need to, or can you just be in that flow? Again, it's going to be different for everybody, but what brings you joy? Not smugness, there is a difference. What brings you joy? What brings you contentment? What brings you emotional balance this week? Because it's that that's going to help initiate and maintain that spark. Okay, so we're going to have one card overall for the week, and I'm just going to split the pack, and we have the Hermit. Okay, and underneath we do have the Wheel. All right, so I love this one because it's like she's drawing a protective circle around herself, and we may need that this week from well-intended messages, this included. Okay, this included. Really, it's about going within, finding your own light, because that's where I'm starting to squeak again. Look. Finding your own light, going within, really listening to your wild Salka, and finding that staff, that Ace of Wands, that one thing that's going to drive you. Okay, and that's going to come from you. Your ebb and flow, your intuition, your happiness, your yearning, your wisdom, your light. Okay, we can definitely be reignited by others, but in order to sustain that, it has to come from within. Take care, have a wonderful week, and I shall see you after, or just before the full moon next week. Take care.